Hello and welcome back to another one. And today we'll be talking about an interview a couple of days ago where T.I. and Nick Cannon talk about the whole thing that happened between Nick, Eminem and Mariah. And this one is quite funny because a summary of all what Nick Cannon said can be put down to being a knight who felt he needed to protect what he had. Back in the day, this would have been the right thing to do, the virtuous thing to do, when he would have been considered the head of the house. But these days, the times have changed, and as you can see, they are no longer even together. So let's get into some of the things that were said, and as usual, I'll give my spin on it. First of all, T.I. is this one in, knowing that it will be uncomfortable for Nick Cannon, and you can see it in Cannon's face as they start to talk about the whole thing. T.I. says he remembers Cannon going against one of the greatest wordsmiths / rappers known to man, and you can hear Cannon quickly put it out there instantly that it was Mariah's fault. I found that instant response from Cannon quite hilarious because it reminded me of when kids get in trouble and quickly point a finger at the kid that led them into trouble in the first place. Nick Cannon claims that he heard Eminem say some things about his ex-wife on a song, and he responded with a letter to Eminem stating that they should meet up and settle things. I presume Nick was talking about Bagpipes from Baghdad, and the timing aligns well with when Relapse released and the phase of Nick and Mariah's marriage. The two got married in 2008, and Eminem released that in 2009 on Relapse, so Bra was still in the honeymoon phase and wanted to prove to Mariah that he was the man. T.I., despite instigating the whole discussion, clearly didn't want to be a part of anything and was quite distant with his words even when Nick tried to get him to agree with some things he was saying about Eminem, like when Nick was talking about Eminem's physical appearance and all that, and T.I. was like, I don't know though, and left Nick to do the talking on that one. But did Nick's effort show Mariah that he was the man? I have more to add to that towards the latter part of the video, so stick around. Before we continue, remember to hit the like button to keep the channel alive. It's like oxygen for the channel and it's free. And if you're new, also hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. When you think of the whole thing, Nick was just the guy that inherited debt when he got together with a partner that was owing the mob. And this union wasn't enough for the mob to get scared and leave Nick's partner alone. Nick even stated in the interview that he wanted to show Mariah that he was the man. But if you ask me, he was way out of his depth on this one, stuck between two juggernauts in music, Mariah, the artist of the decade in the 90s, and Eminem, the artist of the decade in the 2000s. T.I. seems to share this opinion with me, although he didn't outright say it, but T.I. added that Nick Cannon was just collateral damage, which is exactly what I believe when I say he was just stuck between two powerhouses that were going back and forth long before he came along into the picture. Nick Cannon knows that when it comes to rapping, he doesn't stand a chance against Eminem, and T.I. pretty much hinted that this is not something Eminem takes as seriously as Nick took it, to get to the point of meeting up and getting physical about it. But we can't blame Nick for thinking about that option, since in every other way we know for a fact that he doesn't stand a chance against Eminem. At this point, it's also safe to say that Nick Cannon hasn't listened to the warning, as he seems to think Mariah won it with Obsessed, which is certainly not the case according to most people that know the facts of the situation. Even one of the most famous lines in hip-hop about Nick Cannon comes from the warning, where Eminem reminded Nick that in the tussle between him and Mariah, Nick is inconsequential since he doesn't even have a career to begin with. Eminem pointed this as, "You're gonna ruin my career, you better get one." And if you ask me, T.I. should have asked Nick how he felt about the warning. I would have loved to see Nick's reaction. All the while before Obsessed came out, before Cannon's yapping, Eminem usually just had a bar or two for Mariah on each album. It was never something he took seriously, but after Mariah decided to get more serious, we got The Warning, with Mariah featured for background vocals. Nick added that he doesn't want to fight anymore and that Eminem is still in his top 5 rappers of all time, but this is a no-brainer because the only reason Nick even tried to get involved in this was to prove to his wife that he's not a wimp, and since they are no longer together, of course he doesn't want to fight anymore. Now about the question, did Nick's efforts make Mariah see Nick as the man? Well, word on the street is that in Mariah's song of 2015, Infinity, lyrics like, "Wouldn't have none of that without me though. Why you trying to play like you're grown? Everything you own, boy, you still owe," among others, were directed at Nick Cannon months before they finalized their divorce. So the question I have for you guys is, if you're wearing Nick's shoes, of course this is all for fun, don't take this too serious. Would you have gotten involved with the beef that started long before you got with your partner? How would you handle it? And if you got involved, how will you feel about it after splitting with your partner? Nick's reaction was certainly the traditional thing to do. But what do you guys think about it? I'd love to read your comments on this one, so leave your thoughts below, like and subscribe if you haven't, and see you on the next one.